Let's dive into blues. We did some blues improvisation in the early stages. Let's see if we can develop a really stronger foundation of blues. There's a few things that we need to learn and a little bit of really fun and interesting theory that will help us as we're moving forward to understand how this works. Firstly, what I'd like to do, I'd like to play a blues track, and I'm going to play some piano accompaniment along with that blues track so we can just get a feel for how fabulous and chunky and rich and strong that it sounds. Let's just have a listen to this. So on and so forth. It's a great sound. Blues is so much fun to play, and there's so much that we'll be able to do as we move forward with it. I want to show you the basics of what I was doing because, oh gosh, it's just so simple. There's a few things that I need to cover just so that we've got a different type of language that we work with. One of the things that happens, well, let's just look at, say, the world of cakes. Now, there's thousands, probably tens of thousands of different varieties of cakes and cake recipes. But if we were, I know it's a simplification, but if we were to oversimplify it, we could say, hey, there's three typical critical ingredients in most cakes: flour, sugar, and eggs. Let's just say that those three ingredients form the basis. And yet, just think of all the cakes you've eaten over your lifetime, perhaps, of all the different types of cakes, and yet when we break it down, flour, sugar, and eggs are there as the basis. There's a very, very similar thing that happens in the structure of music, like the three critical ingredients. I'm going to call them 1, 4, and 5. Now, it's a very simple concept to understand, but this is a very complex conversation that unfolds and deepens over a very, very long time. At the same point in time, the basic elements of it are really simple. I just want you to understand for now that just like there's the flour, sugar, and eggs of the cake world, 1, 4, and 5 are the flour, sugar, and eggs, but of the music world. Now, we've been familiarizing ourselves with three chords: C, F, and G. The chords, let's have a look at the keyboards. We said we have our C chord and we built it on C. We had our F chord and we built the chord on the F. We had our G chord and we built the chord on G. For the sake of this conversation, I'm going to call C 1. So if C is 1, D would be 2, E would be 3, F would be 4. If F is 4, G is 5. So another way of explaining C, F, and G, or relating to C, F, and G, would be not to refer to it as C, F, and G, but to refer to it as 1, 4, and 5. These are written as Roman numerals. I'll put them up on the page in a moment. You've got them in your materials. We don't need to get into the why, but that's just the way that it is. And the reason I'm telling you this is this language of 1, 4, and 5 is very, very common amongst the most highly experienced and the most highly educated musicians. So these type of conversations, when we start to get into referring to chords and structure in terms of 1, 4, and 5, there's other numbers that we use, but I tell you what, 1, 4, and 5 are the flour, sugar, and eggs of the music world. So if you go back and look at your chords that we originally worked with for Dreams Come True, the chords we worked with when we were looking at Amazing Grace, we could substitute all of those C's and call them 1. We could substitute the Fs and call them 4, substitute the Gs and call them 5. And I tell you what, you know, any experienced musician who's familiar with the language of music would know exactly what you were talking about. You know, all you've got to say is, hey, it's in the key of C. Don't even worry about that now, but this is a really valuable language, and as we get deeper down the path, we'll see how this language of 1, 4, and 5 really accelerates and simplifies the learning of so many pieces. One of the music genres where 1, 4, and 5 is really evident is in blues. Now, I don't know how much blues you've listened to. It's a lot of fun to play blues. When we boil blues down, there's a really common structure, and it's built around 12 segments or 12 measures. And a measure is a musical term. It's sort of like a rhythmic cycle. If you can imagine like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which with each of those counts of 4 being like a cycle. If you could just think of it like summer, autumn, winter, spring, and then it's summer, autumn, winter, spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring. You've got that cycle there. It's a little bit similar to that. What happens in the music world is that each one of those segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, they can get called like a measure, or they can get called a bar, B-A-R. Saying in American would be bar, Australians, bar. So there's a structure in blues called a 12-bar blues, and it's 12 of those cycles, 12 of those measures, 12 of those bars. And these bars, they follow a particular order. I'm going to write it out for you now, and this is what's known throughout the music world as a 12-bar blues. It's a really common structure, and a gazillion blues songs have been used with this structure as their basis. So let's have a look at it. I'm going to now just be talking about a 12-bar blues. It starts off with 1, then it goes to 4, and then back to 1 twice. It goes up to 4, and then 4 again, and then back to 1 twice. It goes up to 5, and then back to 4, and then back to 1 twice. Okay, that's the structure of our 12-bar blues. I'm going to show you in a minute what that actually means and how it's applied, but that's the main thing that I want you to get. Now, we could have just as easily written C, F, C, C, F, F, C, C, G, F, C. That would have been accurate. It's just we're having a different conversation now, and I want you to have the blues conversation because it has such important and valuable application at a later stage. And also, if you're hanging out with other musicians and you say, hey, let's play some music, what do you want to do? Hey, let's see if we can just jam on a 12-bar blues. Your musicians are going to go, sure, let's do it. And this is the structure they're going to be working with. There's some variations, but basically this is one of the key core structures that's used as the basis of blues. Okay, so let's have a look how this applies. Anytime it says 1, I'm going to play the C chord. Anytime it says 4, I'm going to play an F chord. Why? C is 1, 2, 3, 4. Anytime it says 5, I'm going to play a G chord. So no new learning there. It's just a different name. No problem. They're the only 3 right-hand ingredients. So what do? I'm going to get you to play these ingredients, the C, F, and G, which we're now calling 1, 4, and 5 for the purpose of this application, and I'm going to get you to play them in the order that we've written for our 12-bar blues. So it's 1, and then to 4, and back to 1, and 1 again. And then it's up to 4, and 4 again, and then it's back to 1, and 1 again. And then it's up to 5, and down to 4, and back to 1, and 1 again. Okay, fantastic. So what I want you to do now is I just want you to get familiar with putting the C, F, and G chords and thinking of them in terms of 1, 4, and 5 and playing through them in this order. And it will help if you count through those cycles that I talked to you about, or that measure of 4 counts. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going through this this chord progression, one chord moving to the next, one chord progressing to the next, a chord progression. I'm going through the chord progression that's in your materials. I'm playing 1, 4, and 5, and each one I'm holding down for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. That's all I need you to do for now. Process that, and boy, we are on the home stretch in getting a really fantastic blues foundation into your hands, into your repertoire, and into your experience of fantastic musicianship.